TikTok's ban deadline is coming, so what happens next? We'll find out in a bit, but first. When we reviewed the iPhone 16 Pro last year, Apple Intelligence was barely available. Since then, the iPhone 16 series has benefited from several new features, apps, and improvements. Some, or most, of them were Apple Intelligence features that were teased back at WWDC 2024, months before the iPhone 16 Pro launched. AI features weren't the only changes this time around, with the iPhone 16 getting an entirely new button. The so-called camera control wasn't just a simple app shortcut, but an elaborate multi-function button that offered a haptic half press and the ability to swipe across to adjust camera settings and options. And Gadget Managing Editor Sherilyn Lowe said, "We were still waiting on Apple Intelligence in our initial review. Now, as we hit OS 18.4, was it worth the wait?" TikTok's deadline to sell off or cede its U.S. operations is once again approaching. The 75-day extension, delaying the enforcement of a nationwide TikTok ban, is set to run out Saturday, April 5th, unless the company finally reaches an agreement to find a new owner. Who might buy it, and what happens if no deal is reached? Here's the shape of things right now. Potential buyers. President Donald Trump has suggested that a deal is imminent and could be reached before that deadline. What such an agreement will look like is still extremely unclear. A number of interested buyers have come forward, including YouTuber Mr. Beast, Reddit co-founder Alex Ohanian, and Perplexity AI. Oracle, which almost bought TikTok in 2020 and was a key part of TikTok's earlier negotiations to address national security concerns, is also in the running. Amazon has also reportedly joined the growing list of suitors angling to acquire TikTok. According to the New York Times, the retailer has made a last-minute bid to buy the app and has approached Vice President J.D. Vance and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick about the offer. It's not clear why Amazon is making the offer this late in the process. Depending on which bid wins out, TikTok could end up looking very different. ByteDance, TikTok's Chinese owner, won't allow another company to take control of the app's coveted recommendation algorithm. That means a new owner would have to rebuild TikTok's central feature. Perplexity AI, for example, has said it would take on this task of reverse engineering the app's For You feed, making it open source, and implementing some kind of community notes-style fact-checking feature. Reddit co-founder Alexis Ohanian, who joined a group of investors known as Project Liberty, has hinted at a vision for TikTok that somehow ties in with blockchain technology. There's also another, potentially less disruptive option on the table. The White House is also considering a deal that would allow TikTok's existing U.S. investors to roll over their stakes into a new independent global TikTok company, according to the New York Times. Under this arrangement, Oracle could also end up overseeing TikTok's U.S. data, while ByteDance hangs on to its algorithm, as the Financial Times reported in March. This would likely be a smoother transition than a full-on sale that would require a new owner to rebuild a significant part of the app. Aspects of it are also very similar to terms TikTok already agreed to under a previous agreement with Oracle, known as Project Texas. However, this sort of deal may also not be entirely legal, as Politico recently pointed out. The Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary-Controlled Applications Act, the law passed by Congress and signed by former President Joe Biden last year, calls for a divestment of TikTok and its algorithm. It's also not clear whether Chinese officials would be willing to sign off on such an arrangement, though Trump has suggested he could use the threat of tariffs as negotiating leverage. We're dealing with China also on it because they may have something to do with it, and we'll see how that goes, Trump told reporters over the weekend. So what happens if Trump's deal isn't finalized by Saturday? The answer, it seems, is probably nothing. Trump has said he would likely extend the deadline again if the clock runs out on the current extension. Once again, it's not entirely clear if another extension is illegal, but CNN reports that a second extension might be an uphill battle if challenged in court. In the meantime, TikTok is unlikely to go dark like it briefly did in January when the ban law first went into effect. Thanks for listening to the show. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Today's show featured journalism by Engadget contributor Carissa Bell and was produced by Spoken Layer. I'm Imran Sheikh, and as always, we'll talk more tomorrow.
Spoken Layer.